What's going on, everybody? Josh Armijo here. Hope everybody's doing good and well and stuff. I got an album review to do for you, and I'm going to be talking to you about the new album from the band Antropofagus entitled Architecture of Lust. This is released on Comatose Music. Now, if you're not too familiar with this band, they're based out of Genoa, Italy, and the best way to describe the sound of this band would be a very, very traditional yet brutal style of death metal. Now, this is a band that has a really, really unique kind of backstory to tell because in 1999 they came out with their debut album, No Waste of Flesh, which I thought was a great, great album. It had that really old school Cannibal Corpse suffocation style of death metal, the way the vocals are, the way the drums sounded, and the way the guitars sounded. It kind of felt at times I was listening to Effigy of the Forgotten by Suffocation, and it had those Cannibal Corpse vocals layered in there somewhere. It's a really good album. But for the better part of 10 years, this band has been silent, dormant, so to speak. I don't really know why this band has been gone so long. Maybe somebody knows the story better than I would. It's really weird that they've been gone for almost 10 years. But be that as it may, we now move on to, I want to say 10 years later. I believe the band reformed. Meat Grinder is the founding member of this band. He is the guitarist, and there's a new lineup in tow. There's a new bassist, there's a new vocalist, and there's a new drummer. The drummer is someone I'm aware of because David, I'll say it like that. If I say it wrong, I apologize. But he is also the drummer for the bands Sepulchral Gorge and Putridity, two really solid Italian brutal death metal bands in their own right. They came out with a couple of songs last year for a 5-way split that was released on Comatose. I think it had bands like Putridity, Infected Flesh, and Mass Infection. I can't remember the other band, but I know Antropofagus were in the split. Some pretty good songs. It had a more modernized twist to them, a more modernized feeling to them, but still it maintained that brutal death metal mentality. It was really, really good, and I was anxious to see if they were going to make something new. And now we get to 2012, all this time later, and we get Architecture of Lust. It's 9 tracks, and it runs about 34 minutes in length. And once you listen to this album, you're going to realize that this is an entirely new band. It's the same name, but it's an entirely new band, an entirely new sound, and I assure whoever has listened to the first album to not worry, because you're going to get the same destructive metal that you got on the first album, except it has a more modern, technical kind of approach. And to me, that approach works incredibly well. The guitar work on here is your usual mixture of brutal death metal guitar, very, very heavy, crunchy riffs, a lot of that chug element thrown in there. But then, when you get to the more technical moments of this album, they're spread all throughout this album, but when they make their presence felt, it works incredibly well, especially in the solo department. The solos are really, really nice. Nothing too crazy or over the top. They're there, and they are effective. It works extremely well. The bass, it's a very solid bass performance. It's very well produced, very well played, very audible. I love the way the tone is. I mean, take the track Blessing Upon My Redemption. That bass is heard very, very well, and it's played very, very good. It just blends in well with the guitar work here, and it sounds very, very nice. The drums are pretty much a joy to hear throughout this album. Very well played, very mic'd very well, especially towards the snare and toms of the drums. I'm loving the drum rolls, the drum fills, the blast beats, and the double bass. It's very, very fast. Hard to keep up with at times, but still, it's a very solid drum performance, and really, this is probably the best he's ever sounded with any band he's ever played in, and hopefully, this is a band he can continue to be involved with, because it brings out the best in his performance. I really, really like it. And the vocals are solid, too. You have your mixture of your low guttural growl to your mid-guttural growl throughout. It's very, very understandable. You can understand what the vocalist is saying, even to the more guttural moments where you'd be like, what is he saying, you know? It's a solid vocal performance. I'm really, really digging that. And the lyrics are another thing to behold, too, because they have that They have your typical gory kind of effect to them, but it's not gory for the sake of being gory. It's gory, but yet it has that intricacy to it. It has that horror film mentality, like horror movies, horror novels, books, that kind of element. I mean, take your stuff like H.P. Lovecraft or Clive Barker or any of that intricate horror kind of work. That's the kind of lyrical style you will feel on this album. It's really, really solid. So overall, for a band that's been away for a long time, I surely see or hear no signs of rust here. This is a really, really solid album, and really, hopefully in the future, we will get more music from Antropofagus. This is just absolutely amazing stuff, and highly recommended to anybody who loves brutal death metal, or death metal with that slight touch of modern technicality. There seems to be a recent trend in reviews of mine where I've been talking about death metal from Italy. That's nothing I can control. That country produces incredible music, and really, this album is another prime example of that. So definitely check this band out. Support them if you like. Some of my favorite songs on this album include the title track, Demise of the Carnal Principle, The Lament Configuration, that's a great song, and Eternity to Devour. Some really, really solid choice tracks on this album. So again, the album is Architecture of Lust by Antropofagus. This is released on Comatose Music. Pick it up, support them. I already purchased my copy of it. I should be getting it in my mail this week. And this is going to get an 8.5 out of 10. Very, very solid return for this band, and hopefully the best will be yet to come from them in the future. So support this band, support Antropofagus. I'm going to conclude this review. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for checking out my channel, and until the next time, Army Ho out.